starshine lights my way to bed. Magic rainbows glisten in my head. Just like a child, I live in Wonderland. All my dreams are coming true. Heavy shackles used to hold me down.
In today's video I am going to show you how I fix a gaping neckline. So there are two dresses that I made. It's the Wear Lemonade Frida dress, I think it's called, and I absolutely love the dress, but I found that I wasn't wearing them all that often, and when I took a step back and kind of identified why, it's because the neckline on them was quite gapey, so when I was wearing it I'd find it kind of sag forward a bit, and then if I put a jacket or a cardigan on it would get even worse, so that's why I didn't wear them very much. So I wanted to look at how to fix that. So these are the two versions of the dress that I've made. So this is a Liberty of London Tarna Lawn version, and this is a heavier weight version made from kind of quilting weight cotton, and both of them were gapey at the neckline. I did do a video of the pastel coloured one to show you what it was like before I made any adjustments, so I'll just insert that video now so you can see exactly what it was like. Okay, so what I am going to show you in this video is how I make the adjustments on the dresses themselves. I'll bring them in closer in a second and show you. But then what I'm also going to tell you how to do is how to make the changes to the paper pattern, so that next time I make this dress I don't actually have to have the pleats on the front of the dress. The neckline will fit correctly because I've made the relevant adjustments to the pattern piece itself. So let me just come in and show you a little bit closer what I've done on these. Okay, so hopefully you can see here is the neckline, and what I've done is added in two pleats, so I've got one there and one there. I'll just show you what it's like on the inside. So there's the pleats, and it just brings in that gape around the neckline so that it fits correctly. I'll just show you on the other one. It's a bit easier to see on this one. So there's one pleat there, and there is the other pleat. So again, I'll show you on the inside. That's all I've done, is I've taken out that fabric. Okay, so to see how much I'm going to take out the neck, I'm just going to use some wonder clips, and I'm going to pinch how much of the fabric I need to take out on each side to get the neck closed up as I want it to be. So I'm just pleating it over. It only needs to be rough at this stage because I will make sure it's all even, etc. at the table. Just do the same on the other side. It can be a little bit fiddly when you're trying to do it by yourself. If you've got somebody else who can do it for you, that would be so much easier. But there you go. So that brings the neck in about as I want it to be. So what I will do is I will head over to the table. I have done kind of a above the table video, so hopefully you can see it in detail. I've actually got my iPhone dangling from the light fitting, so hopefully it doesn't fall off whilst I'm recording it, but I'm sure all will turn out fine. So do carry on watching and I'll show you exactly how to do this. Okay, so what I'm going to do first of all is I need to measure how much of that neckline I have taken out on the two pleats, so that I know how much to take out of the pattern piece when I adjust that as well. So I'm just going to do some measurements and make a note of them. So I obviously need my tape measure. And what I'm going to do is measure how much of that fabric I've taken out at the pleat. So I'm going to take my tape measure, and I am going to measure the area that's pleated over, and on this it's about 1 centimetre. I'm just going to check the other one. It should be approximately the same, and yes it is, it's about 1 centimetre. So I'm just going to make a note of that. However, a 1 centimetre pleat does actually mean that I am taking out 2 centimetres of fabric on each side of the neckline. So if I open this out and show you what I mean, so you can see the fabric that I'm taking out, it's doubled over. So if I open it out, it's actually 1 centimetre on each side, so a total of 2 centimetres that I'm removing. So I'll just make a note of that. So I can remove the clips now because I know how much I need to take out. So the next thing that you need to do is find the central point of the neckline so that you can ensure you put the pleats in evenly. Now I know that this line here is the centre point of this dress because I made it that way, but if you don't have a centre point, you can simply fold it in half equally at the neck, and then where you fold, that is your centre point. So I'm just going to put a pin in there just to mark the centre. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is measure where I want the pleats to be on either side of that centre point. So I'm going to measure 7 centimetres and I'm just going to put a pin in to mark it. And then I'll do 7 centimetres on the other side. And this is to make sure that I do the pleats evenly on each side of the neckline. What I then need to do is to create that 1 centimetre pleat. So I'm simply going to fold the fabric at that 7 centimetre mark, remove the pin and fold it in towards the centre point. I'm just going to use my tape measure to check that it is approximately 1 centimetre. Just adjust it slightly if needed. There we go, and then I'm going to use a wonder clip just to hold that in place. And then I'll do the same on the other side, so fold it over at that 7 centimetre point, pleat it in towards the centre point by 1 centimetre. And hold it in place with a wonder clip. So that's what the dress is going to look like with those pleats folded in. It's even on the centre point, and you can see that it just takes that neckline in to remove that gapiness. So what I will do is I'll take this over to the sewing machine and I'll edge stitch along the pleat, probably to just where the facing ends. You can feel the facing on the back. So I'm just going to put a little chalk line just to remind me where to stop my stitch line. But what I'm going to do before I take this to the sewing machine, I'm going to show you how to make the change on your paper pattern piece. Okay, so if next time you make the dress you want the neckline to fit correctly without those pleats, what I'm going to do is show you how to make those adjustments on the paper pattern piece itself. Of course, if you like the pleats, then that's fine. You can just carry on adding the pleats after you've sewed it. So this pattern piece is cut on the fold, so that edge is the centre front. So what I'm going to do is measure that 7 centimetre mark and just put a little dash with a pen or a pencil. What you then need to do is take some scissors and cut all the way down the pattern piece, but stopping just towards you get to the waistline edge. You don't want to cut all the way through it, and then you can pivot the pattern. What I then need to do is put that 2 centimetre mark in. Remember that I'm taking 2 centimetres out of the fabric, or even though it was a 1 centimetre pleat, and mark that point. Okay, now remember I had 2 pleats in the top, so I took 2 centimetres out of each side of the neck, but as this is cut on the fold, that will be mirrored. So what I'm going to do now is lift up the paper pattern and join it to that mark that I've made at 2 centimetres, and that closes in the neck. And then I'm going to put some tape on just to secure the pattern. I'll just put some tape down the cut line just so that it doesn't get torn as I'm moving it about. So that's it, the neckline has now been taken in to the right shape. What is also important is that you make the relevant changes to the facing. So you can see here the facing that was originally with the pattern is now too big. Rather than just cutting it off at the shoulder, the curve has changed ever so slightly, so I will redraft a facing. And all that I simply do to do that is get a piece of either pattern paper or A4 paper and lay the pattern piece on top of it, and then just trace around the edge. I've measured how deep the facing is that came with the pattern, and it's 5 centimetres. So once I've traced around the edge, I'll then measure 5 centimetres down and kind of join the dots really, and then cut that out. So it's really simple to do. So I will just show you now how I secure those pleats in place at the sewing machine. So I'm at the sewing machine now, and I'm going to secure these pleats in place. All I'm simply going to do is edge stitch, just to edge stitch down just on the inside of the pleat to where the chalk line is, where the facing ends. So I'll have to remove the clip so that I can get it under the sewing machine. Sorry, this does go a little bit blurry, so I will explain a little bit further in a second. And then use a straight stitch to secure those in place. Okay, so that's the pleats done on both sides now. So I've got one pleat there and one pleat there, stitched in place. Just show you what it looks like on the wrong side. So you can see there and there. And what I will do now is I will just take this over to the ironing board and give these a good press, especially as this fabric is quite heavyweight, so it is quite bulky. So I want to give everything a good press so that it looks as clean as it possibly can. So I will just get these pressed, and then I will put the dress back on so you can see what the difference is like. Okay, so I'm just going to show you what the dress looks like now I have adjusted the neckline. Hopefully the microphone isn't going to be pulling the dress too much out of shape. So you can see now, so there's my pleats. And I've ironed them so they kind of fit quite nicely, and then it just kind of evens out again over the bust. So I've got none of that gaping at all now at the neckline, and it's quite central. This pleat I found is sewed a little bit wonky, so I might fix that, or I might just leave it as it is. But yeah, much better fit. Yes, I have got 2 pleats at the front, which you know, I'd perhaps rather not have, but at least now I've been much more comfortable wearing the dress without the neck keep gaping forward. And even if I'm wearing like a jacket or a cardigan, before I found it was just impossible because it would pull all the dress forward at the neckline. But if I've got a cardigan or a jacket on now, it will be fine. So I hope that you found that useful. If you've got any questions at all, do just ask them in the comments below, and I will be sure to get back to you. And what I would say is just don't be afraid to mess about with altering clothes, because if you're not going to wear them anyway, what's the worst that can happen? And ultimately, if it does go wrong, you can just recycle the fabric into something new. Okay, so have a wonderful week. Give me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this video, and I will see you soon. Bye.
Now my feet don't even reach the ground. Just like a prisoner when his sentence ends, all my dreams are coming true. I think I'll go fly into the sky, give the moon a smooch, he's my kind of guy. Saturn.